Minnesota was hanging tough. They had played almost 2 full quarters of solid basketball, staying right there with Oklahoma City. With less than a minute left in the first half, it was still just a 3-point game. But what happened next flipped everything. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander hit a smooth step-back 3. That hurt. Then came a bad mistake. Dante DiVincenzo charged straight into a defender for an offensive foul. Now OKC had the ball again with only seconds left. And of course, they took advantage. SGA ran the floor, drew a foul, and calmly knocked down 2 free throws. What could have been a 1-possession game suddenly turned into an 8-point lead for the Thunder. It wasn't just the points, it was the timing. Minnesota lost focus when it mattered most. The energy shifted, and you could feel it. They walked into the locker room deflated, and OKC walked in fired up. That final minute said a lot. It showed the difference between a team that's used to big moments and one that still makes small mistakes in big spots. The Timberwolves didn't just give up points, they gave up control. And from there, the game changed. Oklahoma City came out of halftime looking sharp, confident, and ready to take over. Minnesota? They looked like a team trying to catch up to a storm they helped create. This 1-minute collapse wasn't just a small bump, it was the start of a downhill slide. And the worst part? It could have been avoided. Minnesota came out of halftime needing to respond, but instead of tightening up, they fell apart fast. Oklahoma City turned up the pressure, and the Timberwolves simply couldn't match it. By the time the third quarter was done, OKC had outscored them by 14. The game wasn't over yet, but it felt like it. This wasn't just about shots going in. It was about effort, energy, and execution. The Thunder moved with purpose, on offense and defense. Meanwhile, Minnesota looked out of rhythm. Turnovers piled up, ball movement stopped, and the pace slowed down. The Timberwolves weren't fighting back. They were falling behind. That third quarter told the same story we saw in Game 1. The Wolves kept it close early, but once the second half started, the game slipped away. The third quarter has become a problem for them, and everyone sees it. It's not bad luck, it's a pattern. Now in Game 2, Minnesota did try to push back in the fourth. They hit a few shots, tightened up their defense a bit, and trimmed the lead down. But it didn't feel real. It didn't feel like Oklahoma City was ever in danger. It was the kind of run that looks better on the box score than it did on the court. The Thunder stayed calm through it all. They didn't panic, they didn't rush. They just played their game knowing they already had the cushion. And that says a lot. It shows how in control they were, even when Minnesota tried to make noise. For the Timberwolves, this fake comeback just added to the frustration. They had chances to flip the momentum, but never truly did. And with each missed opportunity, OKC's grip on the series only got stronger. The biggest issue haunting Minnesota right now isn't defense or effort, it's turnovers. They're giving the ball away far too often, and it's killing their rhythm. In Game 1, they turned it over 17 times. In Game 2, it was 14 more. Against a team like Oklahoma City, that's not just sloppy, it's dangerous. The Thunder are built to punish mistakes. Every time the Timberwolves threw a lazy pass or lost focus, OKC turned it into points. Over the first 2 games, the Thunder scored 52 points off turnovers. That number says everything. Minnesota isn't just losing possessions, they're handing over momentum. What's worse is how preventable so many of those turnovers are. We're not talking about forced errors from elite defense. These are basic mistakes, misreads, hesitations, soft passes. It's a lack of focus at the wrong time, and right now, it's the gap between keeping games close and getting blown out. Julius Randle has been the center of that problem. He played well in Game 1 on offense, but he's also been the most careless with the ball. 9 turnovers across 2 games is a huge problem. In Game 2, his struggles got worse. Poor shooting, slow decisions, and more mistakes landed him on the bench for the fourth quarter. What's frustrating is that when Minnesota moves quickly and makes sharp decisions, they actually get great looks. OKC collapses hard in the paint, which leaves open shooters on the wings. But too often that pass never comes, or if it does, the shot doesn't fall. It's not just about missing shots, it's about missing the window to even take them. Until the Timberwolves clean up their ball handling and start making smart, fast decisions, they'll keep digging holes they can't climb out of. This series is showing how fast a good team like OKC can take advantage when their opponent doesn't take care of the basics. Minnesota's shooting has been another major issue, and it's starting to cost them in a big way. The Timberwolves are struggling to hit open shots, and it's shrinking the floor. When defenders know you're not a threat from deep, they crowd the paint, and that's exactly what OKC has been doing. Naz Reid has had a rough stretch. He's missed all 12 of his three-point attempts in the series so far. That's not just a cold night, that's a full-on shooting slump. In Game 1 alone, he went 0 for 7. For a guy who's supposed to stretch the floor and create space, that's a big problem. The same goes for Dante DiVincenzo and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They were brought in to hit shots and make defenses pay when the ball swings out. But right now, the defense isn't paying for anything. The Thunder are helping off them without hesitation, daring them to shoot. And more often than not, those shots aren't falling. It's not that the Wolves aren't getting decent looks, they are. The ball gets inside, the defense collapses, the kickout is there. But the rhythm is off and the confidence isn't there. Even when players are open, there's hesitation. That small pause is the difference between a good shot and a missed opportunity. Anthony Edwards is also feeling the pressure. In Game 2, he went 1 for 9 from deep and passed up a few open looks he normally takes. When your star player is unsure of his shot, that uncertainty spreads. The whole offense slows down, the spacing gets tight, everything feels stuck. For Minnesota to have any real chance in this series, their shooters need to show up. They don't need to be perfect, but they need to be a threat. If they can't hit shots, OKC will keep clogging the paint and the Wolves will keep running into the same wall. In Game 2, Minnesota tried something different, and it backfired fast. They came out in the third quarter with a zone defense, hoping to shake things up. Maybe they thought it would throw off Oklahoma City's rhythm. Instead, it just made things worse. It didn't look like a plan they had practiced. Players seemed confused, unsure of where to be or who to guard. OKC wasted no time picking it apart. A few quick passes around the perimeter and boom. Open shot after open shot. It was too easy. The Thunder looked comfortable, the Timberwolves looked lost. The numbers tell the story clearly. In just 15 trips against the zone, OKC scored at a high rate. Minnesota couldn't get stops, couldn't rotate fast enough, and couldn't recover. The Thunder didn't have to work hard, they just had to be patient. What made it worse was how long the Wolves stuck with it. Even as it was falling apart, the coaching staff didn't pull the plug. They had a strong man-to-man defense all season, but they waited too long to go back to it. By the time they did, the damage was already done. When they finally switched back to man defense in the fourth quarter, Minnesota actually looked better. They moved with more purpose and got a few key stops. But by then, OKC had built a huge lead and controlled the game's pace. Trying something new isn't the problem. The issue was timing and preparation. You can't roll out a new strategy in the middle of a playoff game and expect it to work if the team hasn't practiced it. Minnesota's gamble didn't pay off. It only made the hole deeper. Through 2 games, Oklahoma City hasn't just played well, they've taken full control. In Game 1, they did everything right. Their defense was locked in, their offense flowed smoothly, and they forced Minnesota into mistake after mistake. It was the kind of performance that sends a clear message. They're not here to play around. One stat from Game 1 says it all. OKC scored 31 points off turnovers and gave up 0 fast break points. That hasn't happened in a playoff game since 1997. It shows just how dominant they were on both ends. They didn't just take advantage of Minnesota's mistakes, they made sure to turn every one of them into points. In Game 2, they faced a tougher challenge. Minnesota came out with more energy, knowing how badly they needed a win. But the Thunder didn't flinch. They stayed focused, matched the Wolves' intensity, and pulled away when it mattered. It wasn't a blowout, but it felt like OKC was always in control. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander stepped up big. The newly crowned MVP dropped 38 points, handed out 8 assists, and grabbed 3 steals. And he did it without forcing the game. He played with poise, picked his spots, and made it look easy. By halftime, he had already scored 19. It was quiet, calm, and completely in control. Jalen Williams also had a standout performance. He hit mid-range shots like a veteran, finishing with 26 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. Together, he and SGA made sure OKC never lost momentum. While Minnesota struggled to find answers, the Thunder kept building their lead. When a team plays this efficiently on both sides of the ball, they don't just win, they set the tone for the rest of the series. And right now, that's exactly what Oklahoma City is doing. They're not just beating Minnesota, they're setting the pace, writing the story, and looking like the team to beat. If there's one thing that stood out in both games, it's how slow Minnesota played. The Timberwolves weren't pushing the tempo. They walked the ball up the court, used up too much time before starting their sets, and let OKC's defense get fully set on almost every possession. That kind of pace doesn't work in the playoffs, especially not against a young, quick team like the Thunder. Every trip down the floor felt like a grind. No urgency, no rhythm. Just slow, predictable basketball, and the Thunder loved it. They got to rest on defense, reset, and wait for Minnesota to make the next mistake. The Wolves made it easy by wasting 8 to 10 seconds of the shot clock before even starting their offense. It wasn't just about speed, it was about energy. Minnesota looked tired. Their body language said it all. While OKC moved with confidence and purpose, the Wolves looked like they were dragging. That gap in energy made a big difference, especially late in quarters when the game was still within reach. We saw a clear contrast in another series the night before. The Pacers, in their comeback win over the Knicks, played with fire. Tyrese Halliburton pushed the ball every chance he got. Even after made baskets, Indiana sprinted into offense. That kept New York off balance and led to fast scoring runs. That's the kind of push Minnesota needed and didn't have. The Timberwolves also lacked aggressiveness in half-court sets. When they got into the paint, they created open looks on the perimeter, but too many times the ball didn't swing fast enough, or at all. The hesitation was costly. The longer they waited, the more OKC's defense rotated and recovered. And when those kick-out passes did come, the shooters didn't always pull the trigger. Sometimes they hesitated, sometimes they passed it up, and when they did shoot, the confidence wasn't there. That's not how you break down a defense. You need quick reads, fast passes, and rhythm threes. The Wolves showed flashes, but not enough. The lack of urgency, both in transition and in the half court, is becoming a major problem. Minnesota has the talent to compete, but they're playing like a team stuck in slow motion. If they want to flip the momentum, they've got to speed things up, mentally and physically. Because right now, the game is moving too fast for them, and they're being left behind. There's still time for the Timberwolves to fight back in this series, but they've got to make changes. And fast. It starts with Anthony Edwards. He said he would be more aggressive in Game 2, and while there were moments, it wasn't enough. He needs to move without the ball more, just like he did against the Lakers in Round 1. That opened up space and gave him better scoring chances. Minnesota also has to fix their offensive tempo. Playing faster doesn't just mean running on fast breaks. It means making quicker decisions in the half court. No more walking the ball up, no more holding it for too long. Every possession has to start with purpose. OKC is too good defensively to give them extra time to set up. Spacing is another issue. The Wolves do get open looks when they attack the paint, but too often they're not ready to take advantage. Guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dante DiVincenzo, and Naz Reid need to be locked in and ready to shoot on the catch. If they keep hesitating or missing wide-open shots, OKC will keep loading up the paint. Rudy Gobert's minutes also need to be adjusted. This matchup isn't ideal for him. The Thunder are fast, they space the floor, and they attack from the mid-range, where Gobert doesn't defend as well. That doesn't mean he can't help, but it does mean Chris Finch needs to be smart with when and how he uses him. If Gobert plays less, Nas Reed has to bring more to the floor than he has so far. And Julius Randle can't disappear again. The Timberwolves haven't had a single game where both Edwards and Randle were playing well at the same time. That needs to change. If they're going to win even one game, those two have to click together. Beyond lineup changes, the biggest thing Minnesota needs is discipline. Too many turnovers, too many bad passes, too many mental errors. These aren't just small mistakes, they're plays that shift momentum and give Oklahoma City easy points. The Wolves have to stop beating themselves. At this point, it's about pride and urgency. The Thunder have shown they're ready. They're locked in, making smart plays, and playing together. If Minnesota wants a shot to turn this series around, it starts with doing the little things right and doing them now. Because if they don't, this thing is going to be over fast. If you want more straight-up, no-fluff breakdowns like this, hit that subscribe button now. Don't just watch the game, understand it. We break it down, we call it out, and we don't miss a beat. Subscribe and never fall behind the play.